Hey guys, Bubba here. Hey, I wanted to talk about Israel. Let's talk about Israel. It is all coming to a head, guys. Hey, it is Friday, 4/22/22. I wanted to talk about what I'm seeing on Twitter and how this has been building up for days and weeks now. And I believe we are going to see a repeat of last year, not only from the rocket attacks from Gaza, but also from Hezbollah there in Lebanon. But what's going on is the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs is now denouncing so much fake news around the Arab riots this morning, Friday morning, which did happen. They issued this statement on their Twitter account. Says, in the early hours of the morning, hundreds of violent rioters sparked mass riots on the Temple Mount, including throwing rocks and setting off fireworks. Despite the riots, the police did not intervene to allow the faithful of the Al-Aqsa Mosque to perform the prayer, which they did. The rioters began throwing stones towards the western wall, where prayers were also taking place. As the violence escalated, police were forced to respond with riot dispersal means to repel these assaults. During the protest, one masked rioter who was hurling stones towards the western wall was injured and evacuated by medical crews. And I'll show you this, as the police did pull him off after he fell down or was hit by police rubber bullets or whatnot. The Palestinian Red Cross has reported a total of 4 injured at this time. The Israeli Foreign Affairs is calling on all regional and international actors to condemn the violence, reject the fake reports of the Arab world, and contribute to maintaining calm during the upcoming days. And a lot of these videos that are surfacing on Twitter are not the Israeli military actually hitting these people just yet. They're actually being hit by their own rocks from each other Palestinians, including medics and others who are recording this live for their live stream channels. We've seen the same thing here in America and Canada, where people go to these different kinds of protests, from the truckers to whatever not, and, where they record in different places of the city, showing the action. Well, this is exactly what the Palestinians and Hamas have been doing, because this is actually right here, one of the Israeli security videos, and this is the guy right here who got injured. I'm translating this from Hebrew now via Google, but it says, Walid Asharif was seriously injured this morning during riots at the Al-Aqsa Mosque. He's been hospitalized at the hospital since this morning, and his family can't understand his condition. It's now reported that he's in a very difficult situation, where he's documented throwing stones in the morning, and the doctors have not yet determined whether his injury was by a police or after he fell. And here it is, where the police are actually coming up, the Israeli forces, and removing him from the scene, getting them to the medics. Now, it all got going this morning around 4 a.m. when worshippers at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound chanted slogans in support of Hamas and called for jihad, or holy war, and you can see the Hamas flags there in the green. Even Muslim worshippers chased down and tried to remove these extremists from the Temple Mount this morning before they even had a chance to start the riots and throw the rocks. A lot of these people are there. This is why they are there. They are there to fast. They are there to worship, here for Ramadan. And you have these Arab Springs and these uprisings of the Palestinians, but today being led by Hamas, which is not good, because Israel opened their borders to Gaza this past week and whatnot to allow them in. And it looks like Israel allowed way too many in, as a mob led by supporters of the Hamas terrorist group chanted anti-Semitic slogans on the Temple Mount, calling for and glorifying the mass slaughter of Jews. These extremists are attempting to take over the Al-Aqsa Mosque and force out moderate Muslims who are peacefully observing Ramadan. But unfortunately, international media won't mention that Hamas has directed these riots, and the bigger story is that they have usurped control of the Temple Mount from the Palestinian Authority and the Kingdom of Jordan. The events of this past week show that Hamas, not Jordan, or the Palestinian Authority, controls the Temple Mount anymore. Even the Dome of the Rock right here is not protected from these thugs. Israeli border police have been placed on high alert for immediate call-up. This indicates major Israeli concern about Jerusalem violence spiraling out of control as it continues over the Sabbath. Things are definitely getting spicy on the Temple Mount as Israeli drone drops tear gas canisters in the courtyards of the Al-Aqsa Mosque to disperse the people. But why would you need to disperse the people unless the Palestinians are attacking the police station on the Temple Mount? And they wonder why there's so many clashes, and they wonder why so many Palestinians are being hurt. But listen to all the children in the background. This is part of their whole culture. The Palestinian Red Crescent had to come in to help the injuries. The clashes keep going. Bangladesh is joining to anti-Israel protests for supporting the Palestinians in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. All around the world this weekend, you are going to see protest after protest after protest. Pakistan, all over the world. United Kingdom, United States. But the desecration of their holiest site in the entire world, the Temple Mount, especially during Ramadan, these guys are not there to worship. And as you can see here, they started another tree on fire, just like they did last year. Now, this was a mixture of Palestinian Arabs setting this tree on fire there on the Temple Mount, or it could be Hamas. It's hard to tell right now. I mean, they're back to burning trees on the Temple Mount. They're setting fireworks inside the Al-Aqsa Mosque while removing fire extinguishers from the premises. Yet not a single media outlet publishes this story. What will they say when the Palestinian terrorists try to burn it all down? This is the video of the moment of the firing of one of the rioters, which led to the fire in one of these trees. What they did was they lit a Molotov cocktail and threw it right into the tree to catch it on fire. And they're blaming the Israeli police for doing this fire. This is the kind of stuff that the Israel Office of Foreign Affairs wants to set the record straight so the world knows what's exactly going on. So while you probably see on the news of dozens of Palestinians being treated for gas inhalation after the tear gas was dispersed upon them, but guys, this is all leading up to more and more of this, just like the other night we covered, where Israel had to launch 16 of their Iron Dome missiles from rocket attacks incoming from Gaza and Hamas. The Al-Aqsa Mosque and the whole entire Temple Mount area is going to become the centerpiece going forward, because we all know that Israel is the timepiece of God's prophetic timeline. Everything is happening around Israel. Pay attention to Israel. Longtime ally and friend of Israel, Jordan, is now wanting to sever all ties, and this is going to lead right to the Psalm 83 war. Senior officers, Israeli assault on Iran's nuclear sites will consist of more than just airstrikes. This stuff is ramping up. Hezbollah is talking about attacking Israel more and more. This hasn't begun from Hezbollah. They have 120 to 150,000 missiles pointed for Israel, ready to go. Israel's Iron Dome can't keep up with them all. And then you have these factions coming in like this from Gaza. Wait till they start up their rocket arsenal. Just like last year, in May of last year. It's about ready to repeat itself once again, guys. Israel's going to retaliate just like they did the other night, hitting the underground rocket locations and bunkers and factories here in Gaza as they continue to threaten Israel by building more tunnels underneath to get into Israel. Watch the northern areas, the West Bank especially. This is all heating up. Iran just presented a brand new combat drone that raised alarm bells in Israel yesterday. Meanwhile, Israel just showed us last week that their laser system is ready to go for these incoming missiles and rockets and mortars. Iran tells Israel that they flagged all their chemical, biological, and nuclear weapon storages and facilities of Israel, and they'll be the first targets when the war kicks off. Guys, stay tuned. It's getting ready to get nuts. We'll talk to you soon.